She sat alone, on a cold, unforgiving park bench, holding her stomach. Her arms wrapped around her belly like a shield. Like she was trying to protect the one thing she still had, the tiny life growing inside her. And she sobbed. Not the quiet, polite sobs people hide in public. No. This was deep. Raw. Unfiltered grief. The kind that comes from pain too heavy to carry. The kind that grabs your soul, even if you try not to look. Her coat was worn thin, the zipper broken. One of her sleeves was torn near the elbow, patched with a safety pin. Her shoes were falling apart, one of them had duct tape wrapped around the sole. The other had no laces. A small, faded duffel bag sat at her feet, dirty, slouched to the side, the fabric fraying at the seams. That bag held everything she owned. And she looked maybe 7, maybe 8 months pregnant. Her eyes were red and puffy. Her face, tired, sunken, young, and somehow aged by hardship. She wasn't just sitting. She was surviving. Right there, in plain sight. And yet invisible to almost everyone. People passed. A man on a phone call glanced for half a second, then looked away. A woman walking her golden retriever crossed to the other side of the path, tugging the leash a little tighter. 2 teenagers on electric scooters zipped past, laughing, carefree, unaware. No one stopped. No one asked. No one wanted to get involved. She cried louder now, hands shaking, one resting protectively on her belly. And still, nothing. Until a couple appeared from down the path. Well-dressed. Elegant. Talking softly, smiling at each other. She wore a long cream coat and leather gloves, shopping bags swinging gently from her wrist. He wore polished shoes, a scarf tucked neatly under his coat, his arm linked with hers. They looked like they'd just stepped out of a catalog. Like they belonged in a different version of this city. One where park benches were just places to rest, not to survive. They walked right past her. They didn't stop. They didn't speak. They were in the middle of a story, laughing about something that happened in a store just minutes before. And yet, halfway down the path, the woman suddenly froze. Her grip on her husband's arm tightened. She stopped walking. Her eyes had drifted toward the bench for only a moment, but that was enough. "Did you see her?" she whispered. The man slowed, then turned his head. He had seen her. He just hadn't let it register. Not until now. They both looked back. And there she was. Still crying. Still rocking slightly. Still holding her belly, like it was the only thing in this world that belonged to her. The wife's voice broke as she whispered. "She's pregnant, and she's alone." They stood there for a few seconds. No words. Only that heavy stillness that follows when your heart realizes it can't ignore something anymore. And then, they turned around. No cameras. No spotlight. No audience. Just a quiet decision. To care. And that one decision would change everything. The couple walked back slowly. No script. No plan. Just a feeling they couldn't ignore. They had passed by too many people before. But not this time. Not her. As they neared the bench, the woman let go of her husband's arm and stepped forward. She crouched down, her coat brushing the cold pavement. Her voice was soft, cautious, maternal. "Sweetheart, are you okay?" The girl flinched. Startled. Her sobs slowed, but her breathing was still shallow, like someone afraid of what might come next. She wiped her face quickly, her eyes puffy, her cheeks streaked with tears. And then, barely above a whisper, she said, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother anyone. The woman shook her head gently. Her voice became even softer. You're not bothering anyone. She paused, then added. What's your name? There was a moment of silence, then the girl finally spoke. Jada. The name lingered in the air like something sacred. The woman smiled, just a little. Jada, how far along are you? Jada looked down at her belly, her hands resting protectively over it. Almost 8 months, she said quietly. Then, with a bittersweet smile. The baby kicks a lot. She's strong. The husband stepped forward now. He didn't say much, but his presence was steady. Grounded. He slowly sat beside Jada, careful not to make her feel cornered or overwhelmed. Do you have a place to stay tonight? He asked. Jada hesitated. Then, with a sigh, she shook her head. I was at the shelter. But they're full now. She looked down at her bag. I've been sleeping right here. For the last 2 nights. She let out a quiet, broken laugh. The kind people use to hold back tears. It's not the worst place in the world, she said. But I get scared. The woman looked over at her husband. She didn't need to say a word. And he didn't need to ask. Their eyes met, and that was enough. They had already made the decision. The woman turned back to Jada. Her voice was calm. Assuring. Sincere. Jada. Would you come with us? Jada blinked. Just for tonight, the woman added. Get warm. Have a real meal. Rest somewhere safe. Jada froze. She looked at them both, her eyes narrowing, unsure. Her voice cracked slightly as she asked. Why would you do that? For me? There was no anger in her tone. Just disbelief. And pain. So much pain. The wife looked her in the eyes. And gave the answer Jada never expected. Because someone once did it for me. For a moment, the air stood still. Jada looked down at her belly, then up at the woman kneeling in front of her. She searched her face. For a catch. A trick. A camera. But there was none. Just kindness. And truth. She didn't say yes right away. But in her silence, something shifted. She hadn't said yes. But she hadn't said no either. And sometimes, that's all the hope you need. Because in that moment, a girl on a bench stopped being invisible. And started being seen. That night, Jada sat at a big kitchen table. It was solid oak, polished, and warm under her hands, the kind of table that had seen family dinners, late-night conversations, and quiet cups of coffee on rainy mornings. But for Jada, it felt like a dream. It was the first time in months she'd sat somewhere that wasn't public. That wasn't loud. That didn't feel like she had to keep one eye open just to feel safe. The room smelled like roasted chicken and fresh bread. Soft jazz played faintly in the background. The lights above were low and golden. She didn't touch the food at first. She just looked at it. A warm plate. A real fork. A cloth napkin. A full glass of water with lemon. She picked up her fork slowly, and began to eat. Not like someone who was starving. But like someone who hadn't had a meal made with love in a long, long time. She ate slowly. Carefully. As if she didn't want to waste anything, not the food, not the moment. The couple sat across from her. Quiet at first. Letting her settle. Letting her breathe. And then. They talked. Nothing forced. Just gentle questions. Kind smiles. Long pauses that said, you can take your time. And slowly. Jada opened up. She told them that she had once been in college. Nursing school. I loved it, she said, her voice almost surprised to remember it. I was going to work with newborns. I wanted to be the first face they saw. The first hands to hold them. The wife smiled gently. That's beautiful. Jada looked down. Then continued. But then, her mom got sick. Really sick. Something rare. Complicated. The kind that comes out of nowhere and takes everything with it. She dropped out of school without a second thought. She worked double shifts, waitressing during the day, cleaning at night. She barely slept. Barely ate. Every spare moment went to hospital visits, medications, bills. She kept going. Until her mother passed. And after that, things fell apart. She didn't spiral overnight. It was slow. Lonely. Quiet. She said she met someone. He seemed kind at first. He said all the right things. But soon, he started isolating her. I didn't even notice it at first, Jada said. But one day, I realized I didn't have any friends left. Then, she got pregnant. And the moment she told him, he left. Just disappeared. No warning. No support. No goodbye. She paused then. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Her voice wavered. I tried to get help. I did. But everything was full. Or slow. Or I didn't qualify. And I just kept falling through the cracks. She wasn't angry. Just tired. I was smart, she said. I was kind. I worked hard. I did everything right. I just... She trailed off. I had no one left. The wife reached across the table and gently took her hand. Her grip was warm. Steady. She looked Jada right in the eyes and said, "You're not alone anymore." And in that moment, Jada didn't cry. She didn't collapse. She just closed her eyes. Took a deep breath. And for the first time in months, she let herself believe it might be true. The next morning, the husband woke early. Before breakfast. Before the sun had fully risen. He stepped into his study, closed the door quietly, and picked up the phone. One call turned into 3. 3 turned into 7. You see, this man wasn't just wealthy. He was a builder. A connector. A quiet force behind programs that changed lives. He owned a network of clinics, transitional housing, and women's support centers. He had spent years funding opportunities for people who just needed one thing. A chance. And now? He was making sure Jada got hers. Within 24 hours. Everything started to shift. Jada was welcomed into a transitional living center, a safe, warm, fully furnished space just for her. Her own private room. A real bed. Clean sheets. A door she could lock. A bathroom of her own. Security. Dignity. Peace. That same day, she met with a prenatal care team. Doctors. Nurses. Social workers. They checked her vitals, gave her vitamins, walked her through the next few weeks of pregnancy. They treated her not like a burden, but like a mother. Like a woman who mattered. She was enrolled in a nutrition program, fresh food, warm meals, weekly grocery deliveries. She started counseling sessions, gentle spaces to talk, unpack the pain, begin healing. She was assigned a legal advisor, someone to help with paperwork, benefits, even protecting her rights. And most importantly, she became part of a community of women who had walked similar roads. Women who didn't flinch at her story. Women who nodded, who understood, who had once sat on their own cold park bench, and found a way forward. But it didn't stop there. That evening, while Jada helped set the table, the wife turned to her and asked something quietly. "Jada, would you ever want to finish nursing school?" At first, silence. Then Jada looked up, eyes wide. And for the first time in days, something in her face lit up. A spark. A flicker. A fire. "Do I want to?" she said softly. "I think about it every day." She sat down slowly, almost afraid to say it out loud. "I used to dream about walking across that stage. Getting that degree. Wearing the scrubs. Holding babies. Helping families. Saving lives." She laughed to herself. "But that dream got buried." The wife nodded. Then she smiled. "Let's dig it back up." That night, over tea, they made a plan. They would cover tuition. Books. Childcare. Supplies. Everything. No strings. No judgment. Just a clean slate. A new beginning. Jada paused, overwhelmed. Her voice shook. "I don't want anything handed to me," she said. "I want to earn it. I want to fight for it." The husband looked at her with quiet admiration and said words she would remember for the rest of her life. "We're not giving you a handout, Jada. We're giving you a starting line." And that was the moment she knew. Her story wasn't one of survival anymore. It was a story of becoming. 18 months passed. Seasons changed. Sleepless nights gave way to quiet victories. And the girl who once sat crying on a park bench? She walked across a stage. The auditorium was packed, families cheering, flowers in hand, kids fidgeting in their seats. Graduates stood tall in crisp white scrubs and blue gowns, the sound of camera shutters clicking every few seconds. And there, in the middle of it all, was Jada. Head held high. Cap on tight. Diploma in hand. And in her other arm, her baby girl. Wrapped in a soft pink blanket. Wide-eyed. Peaceful. The entire room stood when her name was called. But Jada didn't just walk across that stage. She carried with her every long night. Every tear. Every moment of doubt. And every ounce of love that kept her going. In the front row sat the couple, cheering, clapping, crying. They held hands, leaned forward, and smiled like proud parents. Because to them, she wasn't just graduating. She was rising. After the ceremony, hugs were shared. Pictures taken. Tears wiped away. And though that moment felt like the finish line, it was really just the beginning. 6 months later, Jada put on her badge for her first day on the job. But it wasn't just any hospital. Or any clinic. She became a nurse at a women's shelter. Not just working there. Giving back to the very program that once took her in. Now, every morning, she walks the same halls she once walked as a client. Only this time, she walks with purpose. With strength. With peace. Now, she's the one sitting beside women in pain. She's the one helping mothers feel safe. She's the one walking up to girls crying on benches. Kneeling beside them. And saying, "You're not alone anymore." She became the very thing she needed. And that's full circle. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment. One person. One decision, to turn around. Jada's story reminds us of something we all need to hear. We don't always know what someone's going through. We don't see the battles they're fighting behind tired eyes. We don't know the dreams they've buried under layers of pain. But we don't need to know everything. To care. You don't need millions to make a difference. You don't need power or a platform. Sometimes, all it takes is a pause. A gentle question. A kind word. A choice, to stop. To turn around. Because even if you can't change the whole world, you can change someone's world. Not everyone can offer money. But every one of us, we can offer compassion. And sometimes, that's exactly what saves a life. So the next time you pass someone in pain, remember Jada. And turn around.